Joan Stewart.
Hello everybody, this is Joan Stewart, the Publicity Hound. Welcome to today's webinar on how to generate story ideas for your book publicity campaign. This is the third of a series of 4 webinars that I'm presenting with my partners Judith Briles, book shepherd, Amy Collins, a book distributor, and social media expert Georgia McCabe. Georgia's going to be joining us in a little while. Judith and Amy are here on the line with me, and we have more than 150 people signed up for today's session, and I promised everybody that I would give you all a chance to pick my brain. So here's how this is going to work. I have about 30 to 35 ideas on how to generate ideas for your book publicity campaign, and I'm going to go through my presentation really fast. This is going to be a bobsled run, so strap yourselves in and hang on tight because I'm going to go through it quickly. I am not going to be sharing the slides afterward, but we will be doing something a little bit different this time. I'm going to be posting this to my YouTube channel, and you're no longer going to have to register at a specific time and date to watch the replay. You can go over to youtube.com/publicityhound and just look for the Publishing at Sea 2015 playlist. And the 4 videos will be on that playlist. You can watch them whenever you choose. And if you click out of one of them because you can't finish watching it and you come back later, you'll be able to move that scroll bar up. You won't have to sit through the whole thing. So let's talk about, first of all, how to generate story ideas. And then when I'm done with this section of it, we're going to have you authors type just a very super short description of what your book is about in the Q&A box, what your book is about and who the target audience is. And I'm going to throw out an idea or two that I have. Hopefully something pops into my mind, and if not, I have my 2 trusty helpers on the line with me, Amy and Judith, and then Georgia will be joining us, so you'll get sort of 4 brains for the price of 1, and that's a pretty good deal. So if you're ready, I'm ready, so let's go over and talk about 18 general ideas for both fiction and nonfiction. I think almost all of these apply to nonfiction. You fiction people, only some of these are going to work for you, but I have a whole category for you fiction people after this. So if you can't use all of these, no sweat. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, what problems can I help readers solve? I don't care what kind of book you've written, fiction, nonfiction, what genre, what kinds of problems can I help readers solve? And if you're thinking, well, I wrote fiction and I really don't solve problems, yes, you do. And I'll get into that further when we get into the fiction area, and I'll give you all kinds of great ideas that you can use to pinpoint ideas that other people will want to know about your book. So the first question you should ask yourself when you're doing this brainstorming exercise is, how am I writing my book? Is the process I'm using to write my book, could that possibly be a story idea or a promotion idea? For Chris Kennedy, it certainly is. Chris is an author who writes a series of sci-fi thrillers, and I think he's got about 5 books. I think he's working on his 5th book in the series. What Chris does is he'll have between, maybe 20 to 30 characters in each book, and by the end of the book, most of the characters are killed off because, after all, this is sci-fi. Chris told me that he doesn't like having to come up with names, brand new names for his next book. He's got to sit down and come up with all these names. So he came up with this great idea that I think rocks. What he did was he sent out a message to his email list, and he put it on Facebook, all the social media sites, that if you want to have a character named after you in his next novel, stand in line. Okay, and just say yes, and just tell him a little bit about yourself. Father John Zulsdorf, a Catholic priest, happens to be one of Chris's fans. He reads Chris's book. Father Zulsdorf said, yeah, I want you to name a character after me. So Chris did, and there happened to be a chaplain in one of his novels, and the chaplain's name was Father John Zulsdorf. Well, Father John escaped being killed at the end of the book. So he was one of the lucky ones, but most other characters aren't that lucky. Most of them get killed off. Now think about this for a second. How does that help Chris sell more books? It helps him sell more books because every character whose name is in that book are going to go onto Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and start tweeting the fact that they are in this very cool book called Janissaries or whatever it happens to be, and it's going to help build the buzz for the book even before the book comes out. And I have never heard of this technique before, but I think it's brilliant in terms of promoting. So think about ways that you are writing your book, any unusual things you're doing, maybe unusual ways that if you're writing nonfiction, maybe there's some unusual ways that you're researching it. Okay, that could be a good story idea for you. Next, what technology am I using to write the book? There are a wide variety of apps out there, online tools. There are even storytelling tools for authors, all kinds of them online. And this is one that I love. It's called the Hemingway app, named after the famous author. And the Hemingway app this app is the closest that I have found to a non-human editor, and this app is right on target. It's just like a very talented editor is editing your stuff. What you do is you take your copy and you come over to HemingwayApp.com. You take whatever copy you see on the screen, you highlight it and get rid of it. You paste your copy in, and then you click the button, and it will come back and color code parts of your copy that it doesn't like. Okay, so it doesn't, if it's in yellow, it's long, complex sentences. If you see red highlighter, it's a dense sentence, it's way too long. It tells you when you're writing in the passive voice instead of the active voice. I love this app. Go check it out, even if you don't use it to write. But I think people are fascinated about the various things we do, the ways that we make writing easier. And I think this is a great story idea, maybe for a blogger. Next, what holidays can I tie into? Certainly all the major holidays like Christmas, Easter, and Halloween. There are lots of minor holidays out there. If you have a patriotic book, tie into Flag Day. You might have some kind of a tie-in, a book maybe about a mom that you could promote especially to moms on Mother's Day. There's also Columbus Day, and don't forget about all those foreign holidays. Bastille Days for France, there's the Chinese New Year, the Day of German Unity. Just go online, and if you have some kind of an international topic, just Google foreign holidays. That's what I did, and I found all kinds of really neat ones. And think of one that you can tie into. Can I create my own holiday? You sure can. And here are a couple of examples. Hug Your Kids Day. Spice up your chili day, maybe for a cookbook author. How about Trade Places with Your Boss Day, if you're writing books about the workplace? You can create your own holiday or your own week or month of the year and go to Chase's calendar of events at chases.com. Just do a Google search for it, and you can get into this print book for free. And then you use your special holiday as a springboard to promote your books from. You don't call up a newspaper and say, hi, my name is Joan Stewart, and I just want to let you know that Wednesday, August 13th is Take a Reporter to Lunch Day, because they're going to say, so what? They don't care. The trick is to tie something into that special day, week, or month of the year. It's my strong recommendation that you not create just a holiday. If you want your own holiday, put it within a special week and make that special week part of a special month so that you have Hug Your Kids Month. Does anybody know why I recommend that? Any guesses? Why do I want you to do this for a month instead of just a day? Any guesses? Let me tell you.
Not a one.
Because it gives people a bigger window of time to promote you. If you have Hug Your Kids Day, they can only really promote you on one day, or they're going to focus on that one day. If you've got Hug Your Kids Month, people can promote you during the entire month of August, and there are more opportunities for promotion. So yeah, you can create a holiday, but put it inside your own month too. It's real easy to do. And again, you don't pay anything for this. Number 5, who would want my book as a gift? You need to know exactly who would welcome your book as a gift. And remember, this has got to be somebody who would be your ideal reader. The reason you want to do this is because you want to pitch, there are a gazillion gift guides out there. The one you see on the screen is from Redbook Magazine. They feature gifts under $50, and many of these gifts are books because most books are under $50, and magazines love receiving these. If you're not sure where to find gift guides that would be great for your book, just go on to Google. I did it yesterday. I Googled best gift guides for new moms, or best gift guides for CEOs, or best gift guides for whatever, and they'll all come up. What you do is you click on it, see what kinds of, how you submit your material. In most cases, it's going to be a simple press release, and if it's a print publication, you're going to need a high-resolution photo of your book cover, and high resolution is at least 360 pixels wide. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go find a techie to explain it to you. Okay? Think gift guides. Number 6, what tips, lists, or checklists can I create? And here are a couple of examples. 7 ways to make babies stop crying. The must-have checklist for a vacation by car, for anybody who's written a car travel book. How about this one? 11 flirty tricks that lead to hot sex tonight. Now tell me, who wouldn't click on that one? Okay, and who might do?
I'm trying to click on it right now.
You're
right
trying to, yeah.
webinar.
Amy is clicking like crazy, and she's not getting anything. And so think about this, you romance authors who often have a problem coming up with ideas. This is perfect for you. If you happen to have, maybe if you're a sex therapist and you've written a nonfiction book, this is great for you too. And it just takes a little bit of creativity. I'm going to show you a couple of places to find really great ideas like this in a minute. Okay, number 7, what cheat sheets can I create? People love cheat sheets. The ultimate cheat sheet for passing a sobriety test. I know a lot of people who would want that one. A step-by-step cheat sheet for finding a lost dog, for those of you who have written pet books. How about the perfect cheat sheet for hiding your tummy? Readers love cheat sheets, and you might want to force them to opt in at your website so that you can build your email list. They have to give you their email address before you give them your cheat sheet. Number 8, how can... Yeah, Judith?
Yeah, on number 7, make sure you put on that list at the top it's a cheat sheet for blah, 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 blah.
Right, that you have the name of your book on it, absolutely, and your website address. Number 8, how can the media experience my story instead of just covering it? This desk that you see here is representative of what the desk in my own office looks like. And if you happen to be a professional organizer, one of the things that you can do is call your local newspaper or maybe even your local TV station and offer to go into their office and organize the desk for a reporter or a producer who works there. And it will give them a great idea of what your services are all about. This is a fabulous story for television because it has great visuals. This doesn't always work because they're really busy, but I know I spoke to a group of professional organizers a couple of years ago, and a couple of them did this quite successfully. So, try your local media. You might even try a blogger in your community. Or if you're going to be visiting a certain town, try a big blogger in that town. Offer to do clean up their living room, organize their kitchen, organize their desk, and you could end up with a great story. Number 9, what TV talk show segment can I pitch? Now, you might be asking, why do I have to pitch a segment? Why can't I just pitch myself and let them figure out what show they want to put me on? The reason is because when you're pitching the media, especially TV, they don't want to have to work hard to get you on TV. You want to make their job as easy as possible. So if you can pitch yourself plus maybe 2 other people who would agree to be on television, and of course you've talked to these people ahead of time, and one of them happens to be on the opposite side of an issue that you're on, so that you can get some great conversation going in the TV studio, they will be more inclined to welcome that pitch, because most people are not savvy enough to think about pitching segments. So think segments, think controversy, think multiple guests. You might even have, let's say you might even have, and think props too. Let's say that you teach dog tricks, or you have something to do with pets. Tell them that you're willing to bring your dog into the studio to demonstrate some dog tricks right there in the studio. They love this stuff, okay? Because TV wants people, color, motion. They also love pets. Number 10, what quiz can I create? This can be a quiz that is about the topic of your book and be humorous or serious. Make sure you let people grade themselves. And again, consider making them opt in to your quiz so that they can't take the quiz unless they give you their email address at your website. You can also do quizzes. You can pass them out during speaking engagements. You can put them in your handouts. You can put a quiz at your blog. There are all kinds of ways you can use them. Quizzes, by the way, I should add, are a fabulous way to get into big magazines. They love this stuff because quizzes are so short. Number 11, what controversy can I tie into? And I just started right off the top of my head listing controversial topics right now that are really hot in the news. I think not spanking kids is always a hot topic, but look at the rest of them. With all these states legalizing pot, that's a really controversial topic. Gun control is always controversial. Obamacare, problems right now at the border with immigration, and certainly the war in Iraq and all the other problems in the Middle East. And I hear many authors say, I really don't know if I want to get involved in controversy because I don't want to make some people mad. Well, guess what? If you shy away from controversy, you are closing the door on a lot of great publicity opportunities because the media love controversy. They love it, and they'll be more inclined to cover people who are willing to take a strong position on one side of a controversial issue. Number 12, what celebrities struggle with problems that I write about? Here's one from this week. Everybody is talking about the Robin Williams suicide. And this week is still a great opportunity for, let's say, therapists who deal with patients who have depression, for doctors, for drug and alcohol counselors, for maybe people who deal with high-profile people who are under a tremendous amount of stress and pressure, because the stories that have started coming out today are talking about how Robin Williams apparently was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he was all really resented having to do the sequel to the Mrs. Doubtfire movie, which I think is just fascinating. And this is not ghoulish at all to tie into this. You have to be very careful how you do it, and I just think that there's going to be a lot of attention on this particular story in the months ahead. So, how do you know which celebrities are dealing with which topics? Well, that's an easy one. What hot celebrity news can I tie into? If you read the National Enquirer, People Magazine, and Star, you would know about problems that celebrities face. I can hear you all groaning. You're all on mute, but I know exactly what's happening. You're saying to yourself, I'm an author. There's no way in hell I would ever be caught reading that filthy rag, the National Enquirer. I'm an author. Guess what? I read the National Enquirer almost every single day for two reasons. The first reason is I love celebrity gossip. I just do, okay, no apologies. But the second, more important reason I read it is because this is probably the best publication in the entire world for examples of killer headlines. People who write headlines for all of these magazines, not just the celebrity magazines, get paid a lot of money, because they need to write headlines that are going to make you pull money out of your wallet to buy these publications. And for people, for example, you can go over, you don't even have to buy the magazine. You can just go onto people's website. And what I do is I do a search for People magazine, and then I click on images, and it brings up all these magazine covers, and you can just click on the magazine cover, and you can see which celebrity's struggling with whatever the problem happens to be, whether it's weight loss or drug addiction or, you know, another divorce or something. And if you can tie in to celebrities in trouble, that could be celebrities. I mean, look at Alex Baldwin. My gosh, he's always in trouble. And anybody who writes books that deal with anger and anger management ought to be tying in and giving Alex Baldwin advice on how to deal with his anger issues. And you don't have to look far to find celebrities in trouble. So think about the next time you pass a magazine rack, if you're in the supermarket waiting in line for your food to get checked out, don't be embarrassed to pick up the National Enquirer and look through it, because there just might be a celebrity in here who's in trouble and needs your advice. Number 14, what emotions will readers feel when they read my book? Think about emotions. Will they get angry like this first guy? Will they feel love? Or will they feel fear because they're on the urge of bankruptcy and they have no money left when they go into their pocket? Emotions will always promote things much better than facts will. Even helpful facts, they just do. You want to hit people's emotional hot buttons when you're marketing your book. And so a helpful exercise would be for you to sit down and just write down a whole list of emotions and then think of ways to tie those emotions into your promotional efforts. Number 15 disappeared, so I guess this is really number 15. What can I offer for an opt-in? There are many. Let's back up. If you're not building an email list right now of people who are ideal readers, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And I see this time and again. I spoke at Judith's Author You Extravaganza in May, and I was astonished to find so many authors don't know the first thing about how to put an opt-in box on your website, and then more importantly, what to do with all those email addresses once you have them. That's a whole separate topic for another day. But one of the ways to get people's email addresses is to offer something really valuable at your website that they can't live without. The standard thing everybody's offering are ebooks, but ebooks can tend to get tiring after a while. People are just so used to them, and they think, I don't want to have to read, you know, a 87-page ebook. I don't have time. So here are some ideas for some other things you might want to consider. How about a pocket guide? This could be a little digital PDF that is really small that they can maybe print out and laminate. That's a little pocket guide that they can pull out on how to do something that you teach maybe in your book. It can be a study buddy, a way to, it can be a study guide that deals with the topic of your nonfiction book. How about giving people a free test drive in exchange for their email address? Maybe you have an interesting membership site that you want to give them a taste of. You might want to give them, in exchange for their email address, a 30-day test drive. And then at the end of 30 days, you ask them if they want to join your membership site for $20 a month or whatever the price happens to be. How about an email course? I have a free email course on how to write press releases. It's called 89 Ways to Write Powerful Press Releases, and I'm right in the middle now of updating that course. But I've had more than 6,000 people take that course, and by the time you're done, it's like you've earned a master's degree on how to write press releases, and I'm going to be promoting it hopefully within the next month or two once I finish up all the updates on that course. How about offering a digital toolkit that helps people solve a particular problem, or maybe an action guide? There are all kinds of things you can do. When you go to a website, and this happened to me when I was researching this presentation, when you go to a website and you see a box pop up, my inclination is always to X out of it, and I'm reminding myself now that one of the things that I need to do is stop and take a look of all of the interesting things that people are offering in exchange for an email address. You might find something that you love that you could steal or tweak that would be perfect for you. Maybe an action guide somebody else is offering. It's not one of your competitors. They offer an action guide on something else. You could offer an action guide on your topic. So pay attention to what they are doing. Number 17, what event can I create that will help me promote my book? The authors of The Emotion Thesaurus, A Writer's Guide to Character Expression, didn't want to promote their book doing the standard launch format. So what they did was they went to all of these bloggers, writers who blog, writers who have discussion forums, writers who have this, that, and the other thing online, and they asked all of these writers to help them promote the book, and they created this thing called Celebrate Writers Through Random Acts of Kindness. You know, help other writers do a random act of kindness and tell them about our book. Or I don't know all the details, but I thought it was really interesting that they called on their target market for help promoting the book. So think about how your target market, can you create an event just for your target market that will help them promote your book? Number 18, will my book appeal to college students or faculty? Now you might be thinking, well, no, not really, because it's not a book for a college class, or it's not an academic book. Aha! There are books that are far broader than just academic books that would appeal to college students or faculty. And if you can think of really good ones, you can get tons of speaking opportunities. Colleges, by the way, have truckloads of money to pay speakers that come in. And how do they get that money? They get it through the student fees. When kids go to college, they have like a, whatever it is, a $50 or $100 student fee they have to pay. And a lot of that student fee goes to the college to bring in speakers. The great thing about speaking at colleges is that there are so many opportunities. They need speakers for orientation week. They need speakers for faculty training. They need speakers for sorority and fraternity events. A lot of sororities will bring in speakers, and for Greek week, for all kinds of things that are happening on campus. The student union a lot of times brings in speakers. They open it to the public either for free or for paid. And think about what topics might appeal to college students. For example, let's say that you've written a book on makeup techniques. That would be perfect for sororities. Just perfect. What if you have written a book about how to find a good second career after you have retired? That's perfect for college faculty. And the other nice thing about speaking at colleges is that they all have student newspapers, radio stations, and a lot of them have their own TV stations. So you can get mega publicity opportunities. A lot of faculty members also blog, and a lot of students at these campuses blog as well. A lot of students have their own blogs. So think about colleges and universities as being a very fertile place for you to look for publicity opportunities. Okay, Those are my general ideas. Now, here are my ideas for fiction authors. And some of you nonfiction authors may find ideas here that you can tie into, but I chose ones that would work especially well for fiction. Number one, who needs the escape that my book provides? You need to know your target audience, and you need to be able to define them very clearly. And that egg that you see on the right-hand side, that's the avatar for people on Twitter who don't upload their photos. This is who your market is, authors. If you do not have, and if you don't want to have a target market, if you're trying to market to everybody like many authors are, this is what your target market looks like. They look like the egg on Twitter, and nobody pays any attention to them. You need to know who your audience is. What age are they primarily? Are they of a specific sex, male or female? Maybe a certain religion, certain political persuasion. What are their hobbies? What do they read? What blogs do they go to? Target as narrowly as possible. Go find that audience and promote to them online and offline, and explain to them what the escape is that your book provides. Number two, what professional associations can I target for my fiction? Let's say that you have written a fiction book about a teacher. Okay, there are like millions of teachers in the National Education Association, and there are so many ways that you can break into that group because it's so big. If your book is about nursing or a nurse, how about tapping into the American Nurses Association? That's another good one. And remember, these associations also need speakers to speak at their events. You crime novelists, what about the International Police Association? I heard Judith or Amy or Georgia or one of them make this suggestion a week or two ago when we were talking about promotional opportunities. So I can't take credit for this one. That came from one of them. Number three, which discussion forums attract my typical reader? There are, I don't know how many. I'd venture to say certainly thousands, maybe millions of discussion forums online, and this is a fabulous way to target your ideal reader like a laser beam, especially on super duper narrow niches. Like, look at this one. This is Thoughts, the Thoughts forum, and down here they have an entire forum here on line art. Whatever the heck line art is. I have no idea what it is. They have one up here for digital art and other things, and then a lot of times you'll click on here and then you'll go into even more subcategories. So investigate these discussion forums. Go into the forums. Do not promote your book. People hate free commercials. Go into the discussion forums and take a look at the kinds of questions they are asking. Many of you fiction authors will be so well versed in problems that your characters face in the books you've written that you'll be able to answer questions in here. And once you give people time to know, like, and trust you, then you can sort of maybe work your book into, or you can talk about one of the characters in your book and give them time to know, like, and trust you before you try to sell them anything. This goes for everybody. I don't care what industry you're in. Number four, which discussion forums are devoted to a specific city, state, or country that you are writing about in your book? Just for the heck of it, I went online and I Googled Key West discussion forum. I just chose Key West because I love to visit Key West. And look what I found. KeyWestBoatsForum.com, built by fishermen for fishermen. So if you've written a book about fishermen who fish in Key West, guess where you're going to go answering their questions and chatting with them. This would be perfect for you. Again, a super duper narrow niche. This is where you find readers. Look at this next one, the expateforum.com. I'm thinking, what about fiction authors who have written about, let's say, like novels about France or something, and you want to find people who hang out in French discussion forums? This is the place to do it. Look at that. Look at all of them. This is where they are. Number 5, what meetup groups attract my fans? Meetup.com is a giant website that has millions and millions and millions of people signed up all over the world. They go online to Meetup.com to find people to do stuff with offline. Okay, so let's look at this first one, the Lost Motorcycle Riders, and this is Meetup. These are 3 Meetup groups in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I live. If I was a lost motorcycle rider, and let's say I rode a motorcycle and I was looking for people to, to ride with, this would be a perfect group to go into to find people to ride with. If you have written a book about motorcycles, a lot of these Meetup groups are also, they'll meet on a regular basis, and they're always looking for speakers. So if you can go speak to some of these Meetup groups that meet on your topic, take a box of books with you and make sure you clear it with them ahead of time. Can you sell your books at the event? You can do a book signing there. A lot of them would buy. When I go out of town, by the way, you can visit when you go out of town. When I go out of town, I will check to see what Meetup groups are in the town I'm going to, and I'll ask them if they want to come and listen to me speak for free, and a lot of them say yes. I did a meetup in, where was it? I think it was in San Diego for a group of techie people. They spoke at one of the local Microsoft stores, and I said, would you mind if I charged them $10 at the door and kept the money? And they said, no, that's fine. We'd love to have you as a speaker. So I did. I charged $10 at the door. They had like 40 people show up, and I walked out of there with $400 in my pocket, so that's not too shabby. Number 6, does my book tie into the weather? Hurricane. Somebody wrote the book Hurricane. Somebody else wrote the story of snow. This probably is a nonfiction book, but hey, if you've written a book on a weather, I hate the word weather event, I hate that word, on a weather disaster or something like a hurricane or a flood or a snowstorm, and there's a snowstorm in Des Moines, Iowa, and they have got 3.5 feet of snow, and you've got a book on it, that's a great opportunity to tie in. The weather happens 365 days a year. So think about whether you've got any weather-related stuff in your books. Number 7, I love this one. Can I write a missing chapter to my book and promote it to my fans? Okay? Anybody can do this, even if your book's been out for 5 years. Pick up your book and think, can I write a missing chapter anywhere in here that I can promote to my fans? Should I make them opt in at my website for the missing chapter? And if you can't think of a missing chapter to write, here's my idea. Go to your fans and ask them. A lot of times I will ask my fans for things dealing with my business, and they love to help. I got bored with my tagline, tips, tricks, and tools for free publicity, so I went to my fans. And I said, I want you guys to suggest some great taglines that I can use for my business, or tell me if you like the one that I have. And the vast majority of them love the one I have. They said, don't change your tagline. We love it. So I didn't change it. So this is just, I love this idea. I found it, I can't remember where I found it, but I love it. Write a missing chapter of your fiction novel. Here's one. What big news event can my character comment on? Mary Maroney is an author who was at Judith's Author You Extravaganza in May, and she wrote a fabulous fiction book called Apron Strings. It's a novel that takes place in the South, and it's about a family that has a black maid, and I think her name is Ethel. I read the book. It's great. And Ethel is Mary's confidant. Mary has a very close relationship with Ethel, and Ethel helps her deal with a lot of the family dysfunction and other problems that happen in the group. And I'm thinking to myself, as the St. Louis riots were occurring, that a cop shot that black kid in St. Louis, I'm thinking, what would Ethel have to say about what's happening in St. Louis right now? Because Apron Strings is very much about racism and the racism that Ethel experienced. And it's in the South. And it would be a great tie-in. And you'd have to, I'm not going to take a couple steps further to think about exactly how I would do this. But gosh, if you're blogging, certainly write a blog post on it. Remember too that this is a trending topic right now, these riots, and people are going onto Google and they are searching for keywords that tie into these riots, and if they happen to be the same keywords you're using on your blog posts and in your YouTube videos and on Facebook and Twitter, you can maybe pull in some pretty significant traffic. Number 9, what other topics or characters have groups devoted especially to them? Let's say that you have a fiction novel and there happens to be an autistic child that is part of the story. Maybe the National Autism Association needs to know about your book, maybe that they can promote it. Look at this one down here in the lower left corner. The Witches Education League, I love this one, might want to know about your book about witchcraft or the sorcerers or whatever. There's this whole underground group of witches and all these people are into all this stuff. And you got to dig deep into your niche to find the groups that would really be interested in knowing about your book. What if you've written a book about a lawyer who lives in Idaho? I would certainly let the Idaho State Bar know about my book, and they might even welcome a little blurb about it in their newsletter. A lot of these groups have newsletters, and they're hungry for interesting content. So you might even, offer to write a little, blurb about your book. Number 10, how did my college contribute to my success? Colleges have alumni publications. On the left, this is the alumni publication for Brown University, and Lois Lowry is a very famous author. She's written about 40 books. Judith, she's 10 up on you, or 8 up on you.
Hey, I'm coming back from my holiday here with book number 32.
There you go. If you work real fast, maybe you can catch up to Lois. She's got 40-some. But Lois went to Brown. And the Brown Alumni Magazine did a story, big spread on her, really great stuff. Now, but you don't even have to be a great big author to get in to your alumni publication. On the right, you see the Cornell Alumni Magazine. I didn't know this until today. Cornell Magazine, in every issue, features a book that was written by one of its alumni. Is that cool or what? So look at your alumni publications as great places to get promotion. And tell a story. The way to get in these magazines is remember that these are all feel good. They're real rah-rah magazines. They don't want any sad, depressing stories. So make your story really uplifting. And if you can talk about how the college or university really contributed to your success as an author, they will probably be beating down your door to get a story about you in their magazine. Number 11, how did your hometown contribute to your success? Same deal. Local boy makes good. Local girl makes good. Local author hits it big. She moved away from here 20 years ago, and she moved to San Francisco. But guess what? She's a big hotshot author back there. She's back here on summer vacation, and we were just lucky enough to get her and to do an interview with. And these little local newspaper things, local weekly newspapers are perfect for this. So think back about where you used to live, and don't think that they don't care about you anymore. Local girl makes big stories. I see these in my local weekly all the time. Number 12, include a big brand in your novel that you happen to be writing right now. And if you can incorporate a big brand into your book, maybe that big brand will promote your book. Do they have a newsletter? Do they have a blog? Is there a special LinkedIn or Facebook group devoted to that specific big brand? Look for those things. Contact their PR department just for the heck of it and see if they're interested in knowing about your book. Couple other ideas. let me think of a great big brand. Harley motorcycles. Okay, they have a magazine for hogs for the Harley owners group, and if you can incorporate Harley, or maybe the Goldwing is another big motorcycle, big popular motorcycle. If your book's about motorcycles, or a character in your book rides a Harley or a Goldwing, those people would want to know about your book. Okay, so if you're writing a book, work some big brands in. Number 13, open your wallet and find out what membership clubs you belong to that might be interested in promoting your book, or what membership groups are out there. I belong to AAA, and if I happen to have written a book that's travel related, I would certainly tell AAA about it, because they have a fabulous, fabulous magazine called Home and Away. And I'm not quite sure they do book reviews, but that's a good one. Wells Fargo has a dynamite small business newsletter, and I don't bank at Wells Fargo, but if my book were small business related, you can bet that I'd try to get into the Wells Fargo newsletter. Okay, I just got a couple more. This is a great one. Which popular authors right now are launching books and need publicity? Okay, think about this. When popular authors are launching and need publicity, what do? A lot of times they'll say yes to every rinky-dink publicity opportunity that comes down the pike. Edward Vilga is one of my readers. I just met him several months ago, and he wrote a fabulous fiction novel called Downward Dog, about a bad boy yoga teacher in New York City. It's really good, who becomes the yoga teacher for the very wealthiest people in New York City. It's a really funny, wonderful novel. I never, ever read, and I bought the book as a favor to him, and I happened to pick it up one night, and I wrote him a great review on Amazon. Edward is not launching right now. He's already launched this book, but he's got a whole bunch of he's got his fingers in all these other movie projects, and he's trying to get this novel turned into a movie. And he actually invited me to be a guest on his podcast last week. He has a lot of creative people who follow him, a lot of writers, a lot of artsy-fartsy type people. These are all people who I want to get in front of. So me reaching out, I think he originally reached out to me, and we've just become good friends. We are now in front of each other's audiences. So take a look at popular authors that are launching and need publicity. And if you can get those, now let me carry this through to the next step. If you can get them publicity on your blog, or on your Facebook page, or in your Twitter stream, or on LinkedIn, what do you think they're going to do that's going to help you? Type it into the answer box. How can they help you? How's this going to help you? Any guesses? Yeah, Flora, they're going to reciprocate, but what else are they going to do? They're going to let the whole world know, their giant fan base on Facebook, that you just reviewed their book, or that you just have a podcast, and they're going to give the link where people can go to the podcast. And what are you going to do on the podcast? You're going to, of course, promote your book at the end, okay? So tying in to popular authors is a super way to get in front of their audience. Okay, and my last idea for fiction authors, how am I marketing my fiction? I'd like you to meet Kevin Gerard. Kevin writes children's novels, and he writes action-adventure series. He has 2 series going on, and one of the great things Kevin does that sells a gazillion books is he travels around the country and he speaks to schools. Who specifically? He speaks to groups of students, like he'll speak to 20 students in the library. I have a video on this particular blog post that shows him speaking in front of just a whole big auditorium full of kids, and he makes lots of money selling books. And I said to him, Kevin, how in the world do you sell money selling books to junior high kids? They don't have any money. And he said, yeah, but I figured out how to do it. And he sets the whole thing up with the school beforehand. I'm not going to go through the whole way on how he does it, but it's explained at this blog post. So if you go over to my blog at publicityhound.com, and just use the search box up here and just type in the word Kevin. This blog post will pop up and you will see how he markets. Look, what did I do? He reached out to me and he told me how he markets. He happens to read my newsletter, so what did I do? I gave him publicity in my blog by explaining how he markets. So if you've got some unusual marketing things that you do, maybe some strategies or tactics that other people might want to know about, lots of other people would want to know about this. So those are my ideas, and we're going to stay here for as long as you need us. Though I'm going to be here long. My partners may want to get off the line, but we want to first tell you about our cruise that we have coming up in January, where you can get a lot more information on how to create your own story ideas, your own book strategy, etc. And Judith, I can't hear you too well, so I'm going to go ahead and just start this, and then I'm going to ask you to pop in. Is that okay?
Sure, I'm here.
Okay, we are leaving Fort Lauderdale on our second annual Publishing at Sea cruise, January 18th to the 25th. There are 5 of us, Judith Bryles, Amy Collins, Georgia McCabe, myself, and Michelle, is it DiFilippo?
That sounds good.
Michelle DiFilippo, who knows everything about design, cover design for authors, and we're all going to be doing presentations on board when we are at sea. When we're in port at Nassau, in St. Thomas, and in St. Martin, you are free to get off the ship and have fun. We are not going to be doing any learning while we're in port. You guys have those days free. And this is a 7-day cruise. We did 5 days last January, and when we got feedback from the authors who joined us, many of them said, we want a whole week this time. We do, let's see here.
If I remember correctly, they also wanted warmer rooms.
They wanted.
This time we're gonna make sure the rooms are warmer.
Yeah,
well,
warmer rooms.
Not only that, we have all our rooms are going to be in their brand new conference center. We have the same room, so it's going to be brighter and more comfortable. We'll have tables for everyone. It'll be wonderful.
Right. Okay. Very good. Judith, do you want to talk about the ship?
Sure. The ship is beautiful. It's the sister to the Oasis of the Sea. It's the Royal Caribbean Line, as Joan indicated. And this ship is so big, from having its own zip line and the rock climbing, and of course you can do, if you want to do your own surfing, there's the wave surfer, but what really makes it unique, besides having a full-blown wood carousel that's like the old carousels when we were kids on it, there is a beautiful thing called Central Park where you'll find trees, 40 feet tall within it. So it's calm, it's lovely just to stroll within, and it's just, some people who have gone on the ships before, either the Oasis or the Lure of the Seas, actually go just to be on the ship and don't even get off at the ports, because it's so beautiful and there's so much to be on. So think of this as a massive, exclusive, inclusive resort, I think is the way to look at that. All right, Joan, the next slide.
Okay. Okay, so who should attend? Authors that are looking for ideas for a book. Maybe you haven't started writing your book yet. Anybody, author who's writing now, your writing is underway, but it's dragging on, and you're finding it hard to finish your book. If you're almost done, but you need a realistic plan to move to the next step, George is going to be doing a lot of strategic teaching on board. Georgia, I unmuted you, and we're hearing some feedback on your end, so if you could, thank you. If you're an author who's done but your sales are stalled, and this is not just a cruise to learn, this is a working vacation. It's going to be a lot of fun. We had an absolute blast last year. This is some of the group that joined us. We got a real quick impromptu photo right after dinner one night, and there is so much fun and excitement. There are like Broadway quality shows on board every evening. Don't even ask about the food. I mean, it's just off the charts. Absolutely wonderful. And we have got a great deal for all of you. Judith, do you want to talk about the pricing?
I will, because I think what a lot of people don't understand about cruising is when they quote you a price, they fail to tell you when they give these deals. It's like, wait, there's more. The wait, there's more it means there's fees. There's port taxes, there's sometimes fuel charges, and there's always this thing called gratuities. So when we priced it, and we will tell you the price that we're charging is going to go up $300 after the 15th of next month. But we've charged the $16.95 per person, and there's 2 people in a cabin. The $16.95 includes all those taxes, all those gratuities. So the only add-on fee that you would have is if you decide you want to go shopping and buy stuff, or you like to have adult beverages, you do get charged for that. So $16.95 is per person. If you were to go online right now and look at the category we have, which is a balcony, ocean balcony D2, that's David 2, you would pay almost $1,000 more per person with all the add-ons. If you're someone who loves to come but do not want to have anyone else in your cabin, you can do that, but you'll pay $25.95. And if you are someone who has someone who would love to go on the cruise but is not interested in doing a book, we have that too, and that's $31.95, meaning one of you will attend the workshops and one of you is just going to soak up the sun and have a good time. And then after the 15th, you'll see the rates will pop up, $300 more per person. And as a quick reminder, George and I had both gone in to check out airfare, what's going on between like New York and Chicago and Denver, which is my home base, and they are all well under $300 round trip into Fort Lauderdale, which is where you would like to come in and out of. So, Joan, back to you.
Okay. Come play with us if you want the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if any of you have been on calls with us before and you know anything about the publishing industry, you know there's a lot of bad and ugly out there, and we're going to tell you what the bad and ugly is. We talked a lot about that last year. There are a lot of publishing predators out there that are out there to just grab your credit card number, and you'll find out who those people are, and you're also going to get a lot of great resources from us. A lot of people want to know, like, what vendors should we use for this, that, and the other, and this is the time to find out about that. Remember, too, that you're going to be with the 5 of us for an entire week, and that's a lot of opportunity to pick our brains, even when we're not in the classroom. I sat with, I think, with Frankie out by the pool for, gosh, 2 hours last year, and we just talked, you know, about fun stuff, and, you know, some people stopped me and asked me, you know, for publicity ideas, and that's great. You know, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. So we hope you'll join us. I apologize for the slides. I had to get Judith's slides and get them on my slides really quickly right before we got on. But if you go to publishingatsea.com, publishingatsea.com, you will see everything you need to know about how to join us, how to register. And Judith, we have a very important deadline. Is that correct?
We do. September 15th is the cutoff deadline for price. I mean, if you want to save money, if you have to save $300 each, that you want to make sure you make your commitment by the 15th. The sooner the better, because we only have roughly 8 cabins left. The other side of that is we've set up a payment plan. And if you go to publishingatsea.com, certainly check out the website. And by the way, our last week's webinar on the cost of publishing, that was also included in the webinar I gave, and the time factors that you need to look at as far as a year out and then once you have your book. And then the fabulous webinar that Amy did on blurbs and reviews and endorsements. Those are available for your listening and viewing pleasure, and that you just click on the Webinars Replay tab. If you click on the Registration tab, you'll find that you can register, and we've got a plan set up through PayPal that you can get in, sign up now, and pay for it over the next 6 months. So by the time you depart, it's all paid for less than $300 a month.
Okay, I am putting the URL in the chat box, and you should all be able to see the URL. It's publishingatc.com. Okay. Yeah, you can pick our brains on board, and to give you a little taste of what that's going to be like, we're going to let you pick our brains now. And Judith, Amy, and Georgia may, if you guys have to leave before we're done with everybody here, go ahead and feel free to leave. I'm staying here for as long as people want to pick my brain, and we're going to go for all of us and for about another 30 minutes, and then I'm going to stay here for as long as I have to until we're done. So here's what I want you to do. You have to be succinct. Please keep it brief. I don't think we need to know the title of their book, do we? I think the only thing we need to know is a quick one-sentence description of what your book is about, and if you want to give us 1 or 2 target audiences for your book, that will help us give you an idea, a couple of ideas about how you can promote the book, and we're going to do a first-come, first-served thing. So, Terrence, let's kick it off. His book is about hostages. Let's see, captives of a Middle Eastern terrorist and international intrigue. His audience is anyone who likes action, adventure, mystery, and international intrigue. It's about hostages, captives of a Middle Eastern terrorist and international intrigue. Ladies, can you think of any?
Like the headlines. How about today's headline? I'd start there.
Yes, we've got more. Yeah, more hostages. I would also look at Middle Eastern associations. You know, there are probably, I'm sure there are probably a lot of discussion forums too that you can go into.
Okay, I'm going to give him an idea very quickly. I would suggest that he Google #1 the top 10 authors who are influencers in that specific genre, dealing with thrillers. Political action thrillers would also be another one to go along. I would use hostages. I would go in there and quickly follow them on their blogs, as well as if they're on Facebook or Twitter or anything else. Follow them. Pay attention to what hashtags they're using, the # in front of keywords. Find out what keywords they're using. In everything that you do from now on, you are going to mimic them and use those same keywords, because here's what's going on. That reporters, Joan, as you say, are out scanning hashtags for looking for people who are experts that use repetitive and consistent hashtags. If you become known as one of those people that are doing that, you may be being tracked down on the other side to have input for media or expertise or even writing articles.
Okay, I have another idea. What's it like for hostages in captivity? I don't know, Terrence, how much research you've done on this, but you'll occasionally see these, experts on, hostage taking appear on some of the news shows, talking about this. If you've done a significant amount of research on your topic, and you can talk about how what some of these hostages, do to people in captivity, that could be interesting as well. Okay, next one, Ari Koppel. The book is about spiritual warfare and the forces that have conned humanity. The book also provides tools of empowerment and protection. Your target audience is the spirituality and New Age group. Ari, I don't quite understand what you're talking about. Are you talking about rip-off artists who rip off people who are into the whole spirituality area? Is that what you do? Ari, are you still here? You're going to have to explain a little bit more what this is about.
Joan, would it be better just to unmute that one person you're talking to?
Yeah, if they promise.
Do it that way. Or do you want me to do it?
If you could do it, Judith, that would be great.
Why not? Let's see if I can bring that up. And
I've got Ari. Let me unmute him. There. Ari's been unmuted.
There. All right, Ari, talk up quickly.
Okay, real quick. No, it's about the forces that are, like dark forces, those kind of forces that basically are deceiving humanity in general, and providing a lot of the people that are in the spiritual communities with incorrect information, therefore disempowering them.
Okay, so you got to be specific. Be real specific. I still have no clue who you're talking about.
Well, you know what? Let me add, since I know a little bit about what she's doing, because I had 2 days, I had the pleasure of working with her for 2 days. But she's really talking about some of the false prophets that are out here.
Okay, there you go.
Ari, would that be safe to say?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So there's a lot of false prophets, and they come under the guise of different religious banners, as well as other spiritual type gurus. And basically what Ari is saying, that they're full of SHI, blah, 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 and that they're really taking people down what looks like the primrose path, and they're really lemmings, and they're going over the cliff.
Judith, what was the phrase that you used to describe those people?
False prophets.
Okay, Ari, you need to use the words false prophets, because that whole empowerment spiritual genre, it's real woo-woo, and you guys you all have your own lingo, and you have to be really specific about what you're talking about. Okay, does anybody else have any suggestions for Ari?
Okay.
One of the things that I would do is there are a whole bunch of spirituality and New Age bloggers out there. That's a very big area, and so I would go after them. There are also a lot of them on a lot of the big news sites, like Huffington Post has just a gazillion spirituality and New Age bloggers and columnists. So I would go on there and I would pitch those writers and tell them what you've got going.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, and Ari, I would also use the word faux, F-A-U-X, in your headlines, things like that, things that will be catchy for you. Okay. All right.
Okay. Ryan.
I'm going to close Ari off, and Brian. And who's on next?
Ryan Schroeder has written a book called Green Bean Dance. It's a children's book that encourages kids to eat their vegetables. Ryan, you have about a gazillion ways to promote this book. One of the first things I would do is I would do a very specific Google search. You don't want to do like nutrition. That's way too general. I would get on there and do a specific search for how to tips for getting kids to eat their vegetables, and I know that there's a lot online, because one of my clients is a caterer that makes nutritious lunches for children's daycare centers, and I have done a lot of research on this topic. So that's one. You're going to find a lot of bloggers that write about children's nutrition. There are a lot of online discussion forums as well. I would also go on to, and you're going to write this down, the Society of Professional Journalists Freelancers Directory, Society of Professional Journalists Freelancers Directory. Do a search for, you can use the search box right up there, for children's nutrition, or just try to find nutrition freelancers and pitch them, because freelancers write for a wide variety of publications.
Joni, this
Yes.
is Georgia. A lot of people don't realize that believe it or not, Facebook is doing amazing things where you can actually delve in and find out very detailed information about your target audience. So if people are on Facebook and they go to their personal page, on the left there's a thing called Ad Manager. And recently they added a thing called Audience Insights. And you just click on that, And you can go in and you can search on just about anything you can possibly imagine. You can search on groups, you can search on pages, you can search on demographics, just about anything. And so I encourage everybody to kind of explore that. When I do my webinar, I'm going to take everybody through this so that they can see what they can do. But you can go in and you can say, you know what, in lifestyle, I want to look at nutrition. I want to look at nutrition with parents that have children that are, between the ages of this and this, who have an active credit card, who own their own home. I mean, it is just absolutely amazing. And so I encourage people to really think about how not only Facebook but also Twitter can be used. There's a tool called Communit, COMMUN.IT. And there's a free version, but there's also a paid version. That's pretty reasonable. I think they're running a special on it right now, where you can actually search the top influencers in that category. And again, once you find this, what you want to do is interact with them on their social profiles.
Georgia, is that spelled COMMUNIT?
Yeah, .IT.
Whoops. It's COMMUN.IT. So on the little box here, it's wrong. Make sure you do a .IT. Okay, here's another idea. Go see if there. I would contact the U.S. Bean Council. Let them know you've written a book about green beans. See if there's a bean growers association out there. You've got to let these associations know that you have written a book about the thing that they do to put money in their pockets. They would be happy, I'm sure, to promote this book.
Joni, the other thing I want to say, which I'm going to cover a lot when we're on the cruise, is to really think about, there's a kind of a new concept in marketing demographics, like target market. And so with the last three people, I hear them targeting what the interest is, but I want them to think about the personas. And so in this case, with this particular book, I guarantee you it fits right in with what we'll call the millennial generation, okay? And these are people that are born between 80 and on up, and they are into things like, things that are green, healthy nutrition, supporting their local community, etc. So when you're looking at this, I want you to really think, all three of you, to think about the personas of the people. And then once you understand what their interests are, what their likes are, and how they like to be communicated with, or what platforms they use, that can help tremendously.
Yeah, that's critical. And Ryan, does this help you at all? I have you unmuted.
Yeah, that was really, really helpful. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, let me give you other ideas, and we'll go to the next one. Don't forget your grocery store chains. They're always doing kind of things, and you never know. You could get a premium sale from a Kroger or any of those that might want to do something a little bit different. And there happens to be a very influential woman who is in Washington, D.C., who is all about eating right now. I would send like 5 books, even 10 books, I don't know how big her staff is, to the entire staff, find out who her secretary is, and send them back to D.C. And I would I would get actually a picture, because you never, they have special people who open packages in the White House. But I would put a picture of your book cover, a little small version, and I actually put a note. Here's the books just for kids, for you, and let them know they're coming. And you never know. You never know.
The other thing, Judith, and this kind of ties into what you said and also what Joni said, think about where these people might be. Okay, so for instance, there's an association called the National Association of Youth and Educational Council. And I'm working with a client that sells to thousands and thousands of nursery schools, preschool schools, daycare centers, etc. And think about, a creative way that you could even, pitch to be one of the speakers at their conference. And then you have the opportunity to say you're an author, you can sell the book in the back of the room, you might be able to get a sponsor, like we were talking about the Bean Company. And then the other thing, which I'm stealing from my dear friend Amy Collins, let's not forget that we can use Amazon a lot. So I, for the heck of it, just went in and searched children's nutrition. And now I could do children's nutrition bestsellers. And all of a sudden, I can get there. So it says health, safety, nutrition for your young child. Oh, my God, $55 for a Kindle version? Is that correct? Oh, my God. But, you see the book description, and then you see customers who bought this also bought that. And then you can dive down in deeper, find out who the author is, and learn how they've done it, and steal some tricks from them.
Yep. Okay, now, based on everything that we've just been talking about in the last 15 minutes, do you see why it's a giant mistake to think that you've written your book for everybody? George has just made some fabulous suggestions on how to find your target market. And so you just stop thinking your book is for everybody and really drill down. I had a coach who said that you should know your target market so well, your persona, okay, or the avatar, that you would be able to write a page in their journal exactly the way that they would write it. Okay.
Hi, yeah, this is Amy, and I just want to add on to that a little bit. I hear that a lot when I'm talking to clients, and I say, well, who is your target market? And they say, well, people who really enjoy cookbooks, people who read and loved Eat, Pray, Love. And that's great. That's a good starting answer. Who are those people?
Right.
It's not enough to say that the readers of Eat, Pray, Love are my readers. Who are they?
Right.
Yep.
Describe them to me.
Yep. The Green Bean Dance book might also be a great place to target. And I don't know if what's that huge, really super expensive fast food chain for food. Whole Paycheck, Whole Foods, like Whole Foods, Whole Paycheck. That's what they call it.
You need your whole paycheck sometimes.
Yeah, like Whole Foods or even like organic places might be great places to try to get those books, to get their attention. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Let me give you one more idea.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you have, I muted you, but do you have, your book is in hand right now, that you have it available for sale? Let me unmute you. Yes or no?
Yes, okay. It's available for sale right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you should be out there at every farmer's market that is still open. And you get those booths at those fairs and all that. I have one client who did a cookbook that in 3 years sold 10,000 copies of her cookbook, not through a bookstore, through at farmers markets and fairs, and she just showed up with a dip out of her cookbook, and she sold them that way. I bet dollars to donuts that you would be able to sell a ton of books showing up with maybe some little samples with kids. And because you have healthy snacks and stuff,
right.
and you'd be selling books that way. So that's just my final 2 bits. Let's move on to another question.
Okay, next up is Kelly Pearson. Can somebody unmute her, please?
I will do it.
Okay, Kelly has written a book called Miss Brain's Cool Math Games. Dice and card games to help kids learn math. The audience is parents, homeschoolers, and teachers. So let me make a couple of suggestions. Those homeschoolers definitely have their own discussion forums and their own online forums, and that's the place to find the homeschoolers. I would also go on to LinkedIn, and I would do a search under groups for math. See if you can find some math groups on there, and all those people care about math because math is their occupation, and they're in those groups. And I would just go into one of the discussion groups and just throw it out. Throw out the question. Just tell them you've got these games, and ask them. Okay, ask them for ideas on how to promote it. Maybe they're tuned in to other groups that would be perfect for you to get in front of.
You know, we haven't talked.
You want to also consider going after some high IQ organizations, Googling your local Mensa chapters and national Mensa chapters. A lot of them not only are homeschoolers, but they have a great deal of similar interest in what you're coming up with.
Also, go on Google Plus and check out these groups. I belong to early childhood education, early childhood learning. Start to think about the companies that are also selling to these preschool daycare centers. I mean, I can tell you that, again, I've just done a tremendous amount of research in the last month on this, that the child care market is one of the fastest growing segments, not only for employing, individuals, but also for parents, who are looking for different approaches, and more parents, particularly these millennial parents, they are looking for those schools that have these extra advantages, education being one of them. So find a way that you can connect in with them, whether it's through these various groups, whether it's through their associations. I did something a couple of years ago with my second book, which I wrote a book on social media, and I actually, out the chute, sold 4,000 copies to Fujifilm. And what Fuji did was they used that as a giveaway at their conference, at this huge, the CES, Consumer Electronics Show. And I had to personally sign 4,000 copies. And I was there to greet people and say hello. But that was their promotional item that they gave away. So here was a manufacturer who wanted to help their customers, who were photographers and photo companies, and they used my book as a premium. And I didn't sell it where I had to pay a commission. Okay? They wanted a hardcover, which I did a custom jacket for them, nice little folded jacket, and they paid $24.95, full price. And
Okay.
they thought that was a deal.
Kelly, a couple other ideas. Be very careful that you're not promoting your products. Think cheat sheets, checklists, tip sheets. Instead of going in, with a full-blown free commercial, what are the math struggles that most kids are facing, that type of a thing. And I would also go onto Chase's calendar of events and see if I'll bet you there's a national day, week, or month of the year devoted to math. Okay, next. Kathleen Watson. Kathleen has written a book called Everyday Grammar for Everyday People at Home, at Work, and Online. Let's see, Everyday Grammar.
First of all, Kathleen, if you will email me directly, you can send me a copy of your book. I will review it for the Author Resource magazine that's done monthly. This is Judith. So just email me at judith@briles.com, and I will send you my snail mail address to send me the book. All right, keep going, Joan.
Okay, Kathleen, you want to go online and do a search for Reagan, R-A-G-A-N. Reagan is a group that they have a lot of guest bloggers who write about grammar, and you would want to get on there. They've got a huge audience, and so you definitely want to get in front of them. I would do a grammar quiz, true or false. Which is, right or wrong, and try to pitch that to big magazines. But you've got a huge target audience. I would niche your target audience depending on what kind of promotion you're doing. In other words, do a quiz for grammar just for people in the corporate world, and then pitch that to whatever a business magazine would be. Your target audience is really big, and the problem you're going to run into is you've got so much competition out there because there's so many other grammar experts.
Yeah, but one of the advantages is that she's got a book.
Right.
And so that's what's really critical. There's a lot of people who talk grammar and write about grammar, but they don't have books. So that does raises her above the crowd.
Okay. There's also, I'm sure you know who Grammar Girl is, Kathleen. Are you posting comments at Grammar Girl's blog? If not, you should be.
I'm just starting to get into blogging. I'm a
Okay,
newbie.
well, if you don't have your own blog up and running, you definitely want to go to the biggest blogs on grammar and start posting comments on those big blogs because you'll get a backlink to your site.
Okay,
And do you have a Facebook page?
I do.
Business or personal?
No, it's just personal. I do have a, that's one step that I feel I need to take. I should have a separate one for business.
Yep, you need to have that. And what Joni said in terms of the quiz, there are tools out there. There's a tool called OfferPop, OFFERPOP.com. I happen to use a tool called shortstack.com, and I run polls, quizzes all the time. So I encourage you to, first get your page up, and then put that same thing or even link to the one that you might create.
Okay.
Here's another idea. I would go to HR directors, go into one of the LinkedIn groups for HR directors, and ask them what grammar problems they're finding in the workplace that turn them off to potential job applicants.
Indeed, yes. What about the homeschool market that was mentioned for other books?
Again, I'm kind of concerned because it is such a broad category. It's how do we approach it, given the more, like how you might approach the homeschool would be very different than how you would approach, let's say, nothing made me more angry than when I was in corporate America is to get anything that has any kind of spelling or grammar error. I would immediately discount it. But the way that you would kind of reach out to those people is going to be very different than you would the homeschool. You have
Exactly.
Very broad target.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, next up is Kate Roth. She has written a fiction Beaches-esque novel about two best friends over 20 years old aimed at women under 50. Kate, we need more information about this. It's too broad. It's way too broad. So while you're writing, let's go on to the next one. Peggy.
No, Kate can talk. Kate can
I'm
talk.
here.
Oh, Kate. Yep. Okay, good. Tell us more about the book.
It's actually about two friends over the course of 20 years. And they start out as high school friends. They write to each other while they're away at college. And then it's, after a major falling out, it's one woman who keeps writing to the friend and becomes the diary and the dialogue for the rest of the book.
So how old are they?
They start out at about 21 and it ends at about 40, 41.
And so when they started out at 21, have you got it set in a scene at a certain time?
It's set in the early 90s.
Where?
Okay. So they're 20, early 90s. They're Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Okay. So we really, I think it's interesting. I worked with a woman that had a book that was launched in January, and hers was about a bunch of college students that went away for a summer session in Florence. And so if we think about your category, are you going to put that in like women's fiction?
Yes.
Okay, so here's one idea that I would love to have you do. Are you on Twitter?
I am.
Okay, so I want you to go to like USA Books and the Huffington Post and start to, and in fact this is something maybe I'll cover next week in my webinar. You can actually find kind of the people that cover the various editorial segments, but there's a whole group of, every month, I think it's USA Today, they actually feature the latest and greatest women fiction author. And the way that I got my client picked in February to be the choice was to start following the editor and just, I followed her not only on the site itself, but her personal, and lo and behold, we started engaging, and boom, she was picked as the women's fiction writer for February.
Okay.
Kate, I also think that, and I talked about this in my presentation, if you could get onto the college speaking circuit, that would be great.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Your book's about two women who meet at college. For heaven's sakes, and you're going to think about a type of a program to present, but maybe you could do something about you know, how much of a time investment it is to stay in touch after college. But you could go on, you could do fun things online. I mean, I just hooked up with my old college roommate who, you know, we were on the phone for like 2.5 hours on a Saturday night. You know, we hadn't talked to her in years. And
sororities, Joni? Sororities?
Sororities, you know? Yeah. There are all kinds of interesting things you can do. You can have people share stories about how they got back in touch with old college, or you know, feature college room people who were best friends in college and then kept that relationship going 20 or 30 years later.
You know, the other thing is go on Facebook. Again, you have to go in as your personal profile and just search the topic women's fiction, and there are a ton of women fiction groups. Some are closed, but a lot of them are open. Start engaging with them.
Okay.
Okay, next up is Peggy McAloon. She asks, how do you get an inspirational book to help kids stand up to bullying and abuse into school libraries?
Amy, take it away.
Well, school libraries are tough, especially at that age group. The budgets for public libraries are actually expanding right now, but school library budgets are not. And so the absolute best way, in my opinion, to get into school libraries in this day and age is to actually approach either the PTA, or just about every school system has a nonprofit organizations that are friends of the library, and trying to get them to donate the books to the library, it will often be far more successful than getting the library itself to order the book, just because their budgets usually are quite tight. Timing is also very important. They get their budget set at certain times of the year. Going in July and trying to find a librarian, you won't find one. For the most part, they're not there. And trying to get a hold of them October 1st is not a great idea. They're a little busy and they've spent all their money for the year. So you have to, you know, February is a great time to try and get a hold of the school librarians for decisions that you want to have made for next fall. It's a long lead process, and reaching out to the school librarians is just like reaching out to anyone else. Does it fit a need that they have? They may not actually, although the book is terrific, it may not actually fit one of their needs or their perceived needs. And my recommendation is, if it doesn't, move on quickly to another library. There's thousands of them out there. And that there's actual databases of Catholic and private schools, and they too have, at times, a little more funding and a little more discretionary income than the public schools.
Hey, Joni, is there a way more automated than going into some of these major pubs, like particularly magazines, like Parent Magazine, and seeing their editorial calendar?
In an automated way?
Yeah, I mean, is there any way that you know of besides going to each individual magazine and looking at what they've got as upcoming issues?
You know what I would do? I would set up a Google alert for bullying. And I'd go to the Society of Professional Journalists freelancer directory, look for people who write about bullying. I would also be on the social media sites and use that bullying hashtag, because a lot of those journalists are all over these sites looking for sources.
Right. How about Help a Reporter, Joni?
Yeah, Help a Reporter is another thing that you can do. Help a Reporter is a free service. Go to I think it's helpareporter.com. It's a free service, and you sign up for the...
It's helpareporterout.com.
Thank you.
H-A-R-O.
helpareporterout.com, and it will feed you on a daily basis more queries from live journalists looking for specific types of sources than you know what to do with. And if I were you, I would hire somebody, like even a kid or somebody, to go through there and look at it daily and just pluck out the ones that apply to you, because there's so many of them. It's like drinking out of a fire hose.
No shit. All right, so let me...
The other one, too, that I just love is mention.net. Mention.net is a fantastic service that's very much like Google search. You can go to Mention and .net and plug in key phrases you're looking for, and they will give you daily, weekly, or monthly updates.
Okay, any more tips for bullying?
Yeah, I think you haven't. You need to think about the library journal. They have a special division for kids. I think that for reviewing is a key way to get in front of librarians. I actually do a deal where we represent some of our authors at the annual Colorado Library Association, where the buyers are there coming up with their new budgets for the next year, and they pick up books this way. We do signings with our authors. We do a variety of things to get them in front in a meet and greet area. And it makes sense to hang out and meet, and everyone talks about engaging online. Never understand the value of face-to-face. And so we'll have 800 librarians to play around with. The other thing is librarians are also the portal into the school to speak on this, and that you could connect. I would donate a couple of books to the library. I think Amy's right on, you do that. But they come in and pitch them because they do have budgets. They do bring in authors to speak to these kids. They do create flyers that all these kids take home to their parents to pre-buy books. And we've got a few of our authors have made their career out of just speaking locally to the schools and to a gaggle of kids every place they go.
I just Googled bullying, and there's a site called thebullyproject.com. Okay, and in there is get tools and resources. Be one of the resources. There's even a thing called Bully Shop, where there's a store. Get your book in that store.
That's a great tip, Georgia, about being a resource. One of the other things that anybody can do, if you're an expert on your topic, heck, anybody, I'm going to put this on my to-do list, to go online and just do a search for free resources for bullying or free tools for getting publicity, and see what websites are out there that are, and what bloggers that are offering all these free tools and resources, and then contacting them and asking them to add you to the list.
Right. I mean, Joni, on this, I just found they have one book called Bully Book.
Oh,
$15, add to cart.
there you go. There you go, Peggy. Okay, we gave you a lot of great ideas. Okay, next up is Wanda, and Wanda Maxey has a book about meeting a sociopath on an internet dating site. Here's my idea. I would do some research, some really good research online, and probably wouldn't take you too long to do this, and get some good facts and figures under your belt about the dangers of meeting people online. You know, like what percentage of people who date, you know, report that they met some nut job on the internet and, you know, ended up being the victim of a crime or whatever. And then approach a group like It's Just Lunch. It's Just Lunch is a huge franchise where people meet face-to-face over lunch, and see if you can tap in to those franchise owners somehow. Those people would love your statistics on how dangerous it is to meet online.
This goes back, Joni, to what you said about, and what I kind of said, like, what are people talking about? August 23rd, oh, actually it was a year ago, 11 signs you may be dating a sociopath, covered by the Huffington Post.
Yep.
So let's not forget, Google can be one of your best friends.
Yeah, Google is my key research tool, my search tool. Any other ideas for the sociopaths on an internet dating site? There's so many possibilities. What I would do is I would go after singles. Go after like single women blogs for, you know, hip single women. That's
even the online sites, Joni.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, OkCupid.
This would be one of those topics that you would really want to be going after the freelancers. I think that your idea about the Society of Freelancers and reaching out to a couple of freelancers a day with an idea for a story that they might be able to get into Salon or into HuffPo that you can't. This is a terrific way to. This is a terrific topic to partner with. I think the freelancers would be very interested in this.
Yeah, yeah, I would, and you know, It's Just Lunch is not the only franchise for meeting people in person. I would go research all of them and try to see if you could get your book featured in their newsletter, along with a little tip sheet on, 7 reasons why you never want to meet somebody online or whatever. I think that they would be hungry for this because they don't want people dating online. They want people to pay them to introduce them to men and women face to face.
Again, here's another one, lovefraud.com. And she has on her website, she has a whole thing on books.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
and so what we're doing is we're encouraging you not to always reinvent the wheel. Go see what else is out there, what other lists are out there. Like one of the things I always do on Google is I'll go to Google and do top 10 blank, top best blank for blank, because somebody has a list that they've created already. Why reinvent the wheel? Okay, any other tips for Wanda? Okay, if not, we'll go to Judy Kundert. She's written a 1960s stewardess, gives up her high-flying, glamorous life to fulfill herself and help her ancestral Chippewa tribe. The target audience is boomers, women's book clubs, and the golden era of travel fans. So the first thing I thought of when I saw this is the in-flight magazines. Most of the airlines have in-flight magazines, although a lot of them are being pared down. And some of them have book reviews. So if it's a travel-related book, that would be a great place for it. Also, what about stewardesses? What professional associations do airline stewardesses belong to, or whatever they call them these days?
Flight attendants.
Excuse me. Flight attendants, what trade associations do they belong to? I mean, there are, gosh, thousands of them out there. They'd love to read this. I'd also do a Google search for Chippewa and see what you can find online that you might want to tap into.
Right.
So if we're looking at the Native American, we're looking at older Americans, and we're looking at travelers, wouldn't we want to focus on casinos and on different cruise ships? And I would think that travel-based for older Americans, that would be the retailers. And Marriott in particular has a number of fingers in the gift shops at hotels and cruise ships and the casinos. So perhaps starting that way as well.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. The other thing, Judy, is I live in Wisconsin, and we have a lot of Indian tribes here, a lot of them. And most of them are up north, and I would go into the states where there's a big concentration of Chippewas, that there might be some interest there from a regional standpoint. Okay, any other ideas for Judy?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, next, Kathleen Watson is up, and she says, how do I narrow my audience when communication skills in general are slipping with the abbreviated styles used in today's electronic media? Kathleen, that's a great question, and that's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about niching. I would love to see you niche your audience really narrowly and go after one target audience. And I know that's difficult to do, but if you can be the first person in a very narrow niche and you can own that niche, you don't have to spend a lot of your time and money going after all the people in the gigantic pond of fish. In other words, be a great big fish in a small pond instead of a tiny little fish in a great big pond. That's a lot easier. So I would go research some niches out there and see if anybody is the king in the communication skills area. And if you find a decent niche where they don't have any people who own that niche, think about serving them. In the meantime, what I would do is just like we talked about before, don't do a one-size-fits-all pitch for all these different audiences. You have to customize the pitch specifically for the audience.
Well,
Go ahead,
Amy.
I was just going to say the only thing I would add to that, it's been my experience that, and it seems counterintuitive, but the more nitty you get, the broader your reach will be. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you're focusing on one particular segment of society, other people will find you. And if you're focusing on too many segments of society, it's going to be too shallow it's going to be a scattershot approach that will land on nothing. But if you really dig into one spot, you will create enough waves and enough interest that other people will find you.
Amy's absolutely right. And what she means by that is you want to, when you pick your niche, come up with the phrases that they are typing into Google to search for the kind of information that you provide within that niche. And those are the phrases that you want to use in your blog posts as your keyword phrases, all of that.
All right, and let me add to this that if I was looking for a niche right now, and especially people who have grammar deficits, I would be going after the young people. So what are the young people doing? Maybe they're graduating from high school, maybe they're graduating from college, and they're stumbling all over the place because their language is the pits. And I would be really going for how to create a whole series. In fact, you could have maybe some more mini books off of this, Kathleen, that you could create using their jargon as Joan's suggesting, and really bringing it into play that will help them get that job that they want, to help them develop that career they want, so that they don't get thrown out the front door as soon as they open their mouth.
Judith, you know, another idea for her would be to go after people who have come here from other countries and are trying to learn the language. They would love tips. And those people are they're really easy to find. I mean, if you know what country they're from, you can find them really easy online.
Yeah, and Kathleen, immigration is hot. I'll show you how not to look like an immigrant. Okay, all right. So.
Okay, any other tips for Kathleen? Okay, nope. If not, Carol Borthwick, she says the target is long-term care providers, and the topic is ideas for making their long-term care residents feel special. Remember what I said about emotion? Carol, you've got to come up with a list of emotion buzzwords, because that whole long care term provider industry, they all have these vague conceptual phrases that can bore people to tears. You need to come up with a really good list of phrases that evoke emotion and use those phrases.
Joan, and the phrases have to be directed toward the baby boomer generation.
Yes, people who are looking for care for their elderly parents.
Well, but the baby boomer, that's right. It's absolutely, both of you are right. It's the people that are looking to take care of their parents. And they are a combination of the boomers and the Gen X.
Yeah, and they're exhausted.
Yep.
Take a look at AARP. Pick up an AARP magazine and see what other magazines are out there.
New York Life, Joni.
New York Life.
A lot of these insurance companies. I was just at a conference for the National Association of Grieving Children, and New York Life has this whole foundation that they are trying to find ways to support different things, offer different services. So, start looking at some of the insurance companies beyond AARP, because they do have these.
Yep. Here's another idea, Carol, for TV. If you could suggest some very inexpensive things that maybe baby boomers can take to the nursing homes where their parents are, it's just like off the top of my head, like a Dr. Scholl's foot bath. You know what I mean? Where they can stick their feet in the foot bath for an hour while you're standing there, and they can make their sort of feet feel better or whatever. Like they have these long things that have popcorn in them and rice, and you put them in a microwave and you heat them up and you put them around your neck to help with the stiff neck. Just little things like that. You can find all these online. That would make a great segment for a morning TV show.
Here's a site I want you to look at. It's called forever.com. And because I come from the photography industry, this is a site made up of individuals that started this company that are incredibly wealthy. And it's the only way, this is their tagline, the only way to protect and share your memories for generations. And they're all about giving back. And in there, if you go to their website and you go to About, you'll actually, see who they are. You'll see, and then you can actually get to the Director of Business Development. Follow them on Twitter. Reach out to them. Pick up the phone and call them.
And I know Joni had mentioned the ARP magazine, but if you've ever really gone through the ARP magazine, they have very, very little about caring for aged parents because it is pitched towards really the boomer, now it's the boomers who are the 65ers, but really people who are doing things. I'm telling you, it's a action magazine in a lot of ways. So I just want to do a forewarning out here.
Judith, 11 flirtatious ways to have hot sex tonight would be great for AARP, huh?
Well, actually, it would.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's go on.
Let's just remind everyone, as Joan calls your name, I'm unmuting you, so you can talk with us. All right? Keep going.
Okay, the next one is initial C, initial A, PAC. His name is C.A. PAC. I write about a library where the books come to life.
Ooh,
and it's run by two teenagers. They discover a portal to other worlds and uncover a scheme by one of the other curators who wants to destroy the other library's books and control all the knowledge in the universe. Amy, do you think you might be able to get this book into some libraries?
Well, again, with the idea that if it's priced right and if it's not a hardcover, and yes, I mean that libraries are becoming the new place. Again, they are being rediscovered as the place where people are going for books, even as bookstores shrink in this country and the chains slowly fold in on themselves. But the key is for any library market is there needs to be proper coding at the front of the book. It needs to be priced right. Libraries no longer want hardcovers the way they used to. They don't have money for them or the space on the shelves. Yeah, but if the packaging is right, libraries would be a wonderful place.
Okay, I would guess there's probably a library association for every state in the U.S., and there's probably a national library association, so you got like 50.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, you got like 51 groups right there.
There's actually, if you give me a second, I've got a directory here of the American Library Directory. AmericanLibraryDirectory.com. As long as you agree to their terms of use, you can look up any library you want.
Well, and there's also the American Library Association and the Public Library Association. So,
yep.
and
also WorldCat.org lists all the if you've got a book that you know is very, very similar to yours, you go to WorldCat.org. and you look that book up, and it will list all of the libraries in the country where that book is stocked. Okay. And you can reach out to those libraries. It has contact information and suggest that they stock yours as well.
Right, and then and also, by the way, for all of our listeners and we still have a lot of you still on, is that it's a good idea to encourage people that when they ask where they can get your book, tell them your local library to call the library and request your book, because if they get requests, guess what? They order books, which is a great thing because libraries pay for their books pretty quickly. The other thing I would suggest that you all, if you're not familiar with the radio show I do weekly called Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing, is that you can listen to the podcast, the downloads, just go to authoryou.org and click on the air. Last week I had Victoria Sutherland, who's the publisher of Forward Reviews, which is the only hard copy, plus online, but hard copy magazine dedicated to the independent publishing market. And they have a very close relationship with libraries. In fact, every library gets a copy of the magazine, their buyer does. Secondly, every Barnes & Noble gets a copy of it when it goes out every quarterly. It's a coveted place to get a book. They have a free review. They only do 150 reviews every quarter. Getting into that is really worth your while. The second thing is they have a paid version, which is also worth your while because of that relationship. And I just encourage all of you to listen to the interview I did with them last week.
Okay.
What is that called again?
It's called Forward, F-O-R-E-W-O-R-D, forwardreviews.com.
Forwardreviews.com. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, Eva Pollock. My book is about photography, how to use one subject matter and learn about light composition, color, finding your own voice, and expressing your own vision. Georgia, take it away.
Okay. Oh, God, I have tons of ideas for you. That's where I spent the last 30 years in my career. So the first thing I would ask you, are you a professional photographer? Can you unmute her?
She's unmuted.
Hello?
Ava, you there? Okay, so if she's not there, we're going to move on.
So here's what I would do. First of all, I would make sure that, I mean, there are a lot of big names out there that are doing, you know, certain things. In terms of, there's a group of individuals that, you know, they do 30 days, 30 cities in 30 days, and they run these conferences, and they bring all these people in locally, and they do these seminars. But what I would do is I would immediately reach out to a lot of the professional labs, so H&H Color, Nations, Bay Photo, Buckeye, you know, because that's their consumer base is those professional photographers. I would offer up to do a free blog post for them. I would suggest to them, which I did at, I mean, I've been to WPPI, I've been to Imaging USA, I've been to CES, I've been to every major, you know, state convention association. I would try to get some of them to actually buy the book from you and do what I did, what I did with Fuji. Whereas you're there, you sign the books. Maybe you're a speaker that can speak on the subject at one of these, because they all spend tons of money. I'm absolutely blown away how much these labs spend sponsoring speakers. But I have to tell you, there are very few speakers that actually have a printed book. So if you have a book, you know, reach out to them. I can help. I know them all. I can help you connect with them. And, you know, see if they'll sponsor you to be one of the speakers at the big conventions, and then you sell the book at the back of the room. I mean, that's just one start. There's, on Twitter, there's certain hashtags you need to follow. On Facebook, you need to start communicating with each of them on all of their business pages, sending them personal messages. I mean, the sky's the limit. You should just give me a call and we'll talk.
Also, what about, I mean, this is like way below the quality that you write about, Eva, but like selfies are the hot thing right now. You know, I think that's one way to get people's attention. I found a blog this week. I found a couple blog posts about how to take top quality selfies. And I would love somebody to discover a way to take selfies that are good enough to use in a publicity campaign. I mean, right now, most of them are not. But, boy, if you could figure out how to do that, that'd be great.
Joni, there's a guy that I work with. He's a good friend of mine. He's been on Oprah. He's been on the Today Show. His name is Nick Kelsch, and he runs a site. It's his Facebook page. He has 60,000 followers, and he it's called How to Photograph Your Baby. And he started that way because he wrote a book about that. But basically, he has targeted and he has trained I call them mamarazzis. This is, and I wish I could hear her because she's probably like laughing at this point. But
No,
this is one of the.
She's not on even. I think she stepped away. So that's why I said I think that if they don't answer us, I mean, I'll open it up again. If they don't answer us, I think we should go to someone who has a question.
Yeah.
There you go. I agree.
Okay. All right. Wanda Maxey, Lonely Hearts meets Charming Sociopath, about the dark side of Internet dating. All the things we talked to the other author about, you need to do. I mean,
Okay. We've actually talked to Wanda. Let's go to someone we haven't talked to, Joan.
Vicki Lucas. I have a young adult fantasy called Toxic. Instead of dragons, I have flying horses. It's Christian and has done well with homeschoolers. I'm just having problems connecting with homeschoolers.
Well, there's a lot of associations that are dedicated to homeschoolers, Vicki. And I'd go back to Google. We keep telling everyone to do that. You stop and you include where the associations, where they hang out, what are the top blogs for homeschoolers. Those are all the places you've got to start. You follow, you connect, you make comments. I can't say that enough, and I think everyone has said that. That's what you need to do.
And the other thing I want to throw out, though, I've had a lot of experience in authors and clients who want to go after homeschoolers. The Christian homeschooling market is very different from the secular homeschooling market.
Yes.
Two very different groups.
Yeah.
And the Christian homeschooling market, quite often, well, both groups, but quite often the Christian homeschooling market there is one parent at home schooling the kids, which means that the income is much lower on average than when both parents are. Why are you trying to go after the homeschooling market is my question. They may not have the same disposable income for books. I know most of the Christian homeschoolers and I know several of them personally, but I've also worked with a lot of them. They're constantly looking for free or extremely low-cost materials. They're not looking to spend money on a book. There's lots of materials that they can get for free. Perhaps going after the Christian market is a good idea, but why the homeschoolers? Just because they're young and they're Christian?
You know what I'd rather see her go
out
after?
there.
I'd rather see her go after young people who ride horses. I mean, she said it's for what? For young adults? There are a lot of young
church
adults
youth group.
who are horseback riders.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you shouldn't go for homeschoolers. I'm saying think about why you're going for homeschoolers. Is it because it's an easy hit, but do they have the money? Just because someone can buy your book doesn't mean they will.
Okay,
any others for Vicki? Let's go on to the next one.
Maybe she's not there either. Okay, let's find out who's there. First, why don't we ask this, Joan? I'm curious because we still have over 35 people with us, which is great fun. I'm curious to see how many will be with us next week. Why don't we raise our hand? Here's the topic for next week: targeting your market the right way. Georgia McCabe is going to read it, and we're talking social media and all those goodies. So why don't you raise your hand if you're listening in still, and see if you'll be with us next week. Okay.
I think the target market the target market presentation would be terrific because we're just, I don't think people are getting it, and that's probably one of the top 3 problems I see when authors come to me. They don't know their target market. They don't know how to find them.
Well, I'm not sure, Joni, they understand why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, you'll just have to repeat it.
Yeah. We'll keep doing that, so Vicki will be with us, and Tony will be with us for sure, and Mary.
Vicki says she doesn't have a microphone. Vicki, you can call in on the telephone.
Yeah. Charles Clark will be with us. Carol will be with us. Ari will be with us. All right. So do we have any other questions? Because we can do, and Jay will be with us.
Do we have anybody here who we have not talked to tonight?
That has a question.
Who wants to pick our brains?
That should be our new tagline. Pick the
Pick our
chick's
brains. Until it oozes out.
Is Melissa Gazzetta
we
here
can
with
run
us?
our commercial. We can run our commercials during the Walking Dead TV show.
Okay. Lordy. All right,
Yes,
Melissa?
Okay,
Melissa is here.
let's do Melissa Gazzetta. She says she's the target for memoirs that start in World War II. Whose memoirs?
I did a memoir of a very good friend of mine who had to go into hiding from Nazis as a teen, even though he was not Jewish. And it starts from there. He does survive the war, but then goes on. But he's actually an American, which is why actually he had to go into hiding. He has a dream of flying, and he pursues that persistently through his life, but has constant challenges to get there. But he finally does. When he comes to America, he finally reaches his American dream, and it's a pretty amazing story.
So it's all about, but it's flying is one of the key components besides he was in hiding, Melissa?
Yes, flying is a strong theme in it, and another theme in it is the whole American dream idea.
Well, one of the niches I would go after, and I know we've talked about this several times. My slogan for that is it's much better to be the whale in the pond versus the sardine in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you can consider also going after is aviation, which is a great niche out there. Where I mean, you do have, and it's war related. Even though he has his dream to fly, I don't know if that was surfaced during the war or what. I don't know. But
as a kid, yeah, ever since he was a kid. He was one of those who knew from the time he was a little kid what he wanted to do.
Oh my God, I wish the book was out because Saturday is the, I'm in Rochester, New York, is the air show, which they do all across the country. I mean, I could see you there signing books, giving them away, getting sponsors.
Yeah, great, yeah. And I did pick up at the bookstore the other day a Flight Journal magazine, and they seem to be sort of targeted in, so I bought one of those to kind of have as a target, because I noticed people submit stories to it and that kind of thing. So, they seem to have a lot of interest in some of the World War II stories out there that had to do with aviation.
World War II is huge. Just let me give you, I want everyone to hear, this is a happily ever after story. It's not ever after, but it's happily story. I have a client by the name of Steve Snyder whose book has just arrived from the printer called Shot Down. And it's based on his father, who was a captain of a flight that was shot down over the Belgium-France border by the Nazis, the Germans. And that they ended up, 8 of the 10 crewmen survived, and they were hidden by all the farmers and village people. And they ended up joining, several of them, the resistance in fighting with the Belgians, to the extent that they are revered there. They have museums and memorials in their honor. This is probably the first World War II book that I have come across that has got all these personal, unbelievably personal stories from both sides, the men and the village people. And that it's just truly amazing what's happened. And we got a pre-order from Amazon for almost 500 copies of the book before it is even ready to go. And he has aggressively marketed it to the local people, the aviation society, as Georgia has indicated, and he has the local newspapers. And by the way, no one has really, I don't think Joni mentioned it, but and maybe I had a banana in my ear when she said it, but don't forget the very small local throwaway newspapers, because they're looking for stories all the time, and these are the kind of stories, Melissa, that they love to pick up because they're locals.
Yeah.
And there's a familiarity, and these people, those World War II, this greatest generation, anytime you can come out about anything, people who lived through, who were in the war during the greatest generation, will get attention.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I think we are at the end, and I just wanted to ask everybody, you've been on with us for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Has this been of value to you? If it has been, let us know. Tell us in the answer box that it's been of value. Have you found this helpful?
Wow.
Yeah, Flora
Okay.
says, yeah, yes, absolutely. It's been great. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Interesting. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let me pose this question to you. If you think this is of value, you've been on with us for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Can you imagine how much value you can get if you were with us for 168 hours on the Publishing at Sea cruise, January 18th to the 25th in the Eastern Caribbean? And can you imagine how cool it will be to not only learn all of this, but learn it in an environment where you're going to have one of the best vacations of your life? Right now, before you do anything, go to publishingatsea.com and take a look at what we've got there if you've got any questions at all. Judith, will you be the one to take questions from anybody who wants to email them?
Yes. Yes, if they'll email me, and then I can talk to them about all the nuances that they need to know. So either call me. Don't call me now because I have a dinner thing I need to go to. But 303-885-2207, and I will put that out in the chat to everybody. So that's 303-885-2207, and email me directly at judith@briles.com. And you can, as I said, you can go through PayPal and pay it over 6 months for less than $300 a month. And or if you want to just process this on a credit card, or you split it up in a couple of payments, just call my offices and I can handle that directly on that. So that's the 303-885-2207 or judith@briles.com.
Okay, and right now, the four of us, our brains have been picked clean. like roadkill on the side of the road. You picked us clean, but we promise that our brains will be in good working order the second we walk on that ship. And we hope you're all going to join us on January 18th for one hell of a fun vacation. So,
hey, Joni,
yeah.
Joni, can you ask them to do, I don't know, how many people do we still have left?
We have about 30 on.
Yeah, we've got 30 people still on the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we do our own quick poll here with a raise of hands?
Sure.
If anyone is interested in going with us, I know Ari is. Ari is going.
I mean, interested but serious. And you know what? What's cool about what we do, you know, yes, we're telling you that we're doing this and it's going to be awesome and it's a great time and we can connect. But at the same time, we are generously giving our time over the last, how many weeks, and we've still got more leading up, sharing as much as we have. So that kind of, to me, just says kind of what we're all about.
You got it. That's
and I hope you guys are having fun, because that's what it's all about. It's about learning and having fun, and that's what we're doing.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Well, we're going to sign off, so I will say good night, and we hope to see all of you next week.
Thank you, Joan. Great webinar, and a reminder that this webinar will be up within 48 hours, so you can take a look at it.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.